Bruin fans, fall is finally here. That means UCLA football is back in your life. Head out to the Rose Bowl to enjoy America's best tailgating and to make more unforgettable memories with the Bruins. Nico Iamaleava and the Bruins are ready to make an impact this year, and we need you cheering them at the Rose Bowl. Visit UCLABruins.com or call 310-UCLA-WIN to lock in your tickets today. 310-UCLA-WIN.
Good afternoon and happy Thanksgiving week. We're getting right down to business here, doing it live, doing more at 4 weekday afternoons, right after Guy Benson at 3 and just before the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang at 5. Tonight it's Monday Night Football, something special for San Francisco 49er fans. Shortly after 5 o'clock this evening, the Niners hosting the Carolina Panthers on Monday Night Football. Kickoff from Levi Stadium in the Bay Area, set for just after 5 o'clock. And you'll hear that game right here on 790 KABC. Right now, Mottek On Money, live on the air, 790 KABC, streaming live online worldwide at KBC.com, and, of course, the on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, KBC.com, Apple iTunes, YouTube, all your favorite podcast platforms. Sox kicking off the new week with a rally, something to be grateful for. Positive start to this Thanksgiving week. The markets will be closed Thursday for Thanksgiving, and we'll have a holiday-shortened session on Friday. Tech stocks leading the rally today, with the NASDAQ scoring its best session since last May after nearly slipping into correction territory last week. The Dow also had a good day, closing up 203 points. The S&P 500 up 102. The NASDAQ popped nearly 600 points at 22,872 as the AI trade names rebounded today. Chip stocks and other big tech shares rallied, extending Friday's gains. Semiconductor companies, including Broadcom, AMD, and Micron, among the big winners. Tesla and Google, parent company Alphabet, up about 6%. San Francisco Fed President Mary Daly telling the Wall Street Journal today she supports lowering interest rates at the Fed's meeting next month, following similar comments we got from Fed Governor Christopher Waller earlier in the day. The chance now of a December rate cut by the Fed went above 80% on Monday, according to the latest CME tracking, up from 71% on Friday and just 42% a week ago. Crypto's all over the place, but also rebounded today. Bitcoin up around 89,000 today after getting down to around 80,000 last week, having its worst weekly loss since February. Right now we're looking at Bitcoin at around 88,300. Ethereum also on the rebound today, just shy of 3,000. Congress now wrestling with rapidly rising health care premiums and health care affordability overall. Some ideas now being floated in Washington to replace what was once known as the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. I'll discuss the latest with leading taxpayer advocate Grover Norquist, president of Americans for Tax Reform, who has a ringside seat in Washington. And what's turning heads at the LA Auto Show this year? Yep, it's already that time of the year. A lot going on at the LA Convention Center. A lot of those new cars also hitting the roads around Southern California, so you might be noticing some of that too. We'll get the latest from veteran business and automotive journalist and longtime contributor to this program, Richard Saxton, will be joining me live later this hour. But first, on your money, the markets, the economy, and the whole works now. Top-ranked money manager Ken Winans, president and chief investment officer at Winans Investments at WinAnsInvestments.com. Ken Winans, also market historian, author of numerous books. His latest, Investment Atlas 3, Creating Wealth Using Historical Trends, also Forbes magazine contributor. Ken Winans also has his crypto credentials, too. He's also host of Winning with Winans, now heard in the Las Vegas area, and the Winans Wealth Minute right here on 790 KABC, your favorite station. Ken Winans, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Hello, my good friend Frank Mottek, and you covered everything in that wonderful, amazing intro you give except one thing.
Let's hear it.
Gold and silver had an awesome day.
Yep. Well,
it's really popped.
We leave it to you to talk about that as well. You've covered all the bases here, so you're absolutely right. Gold popping more than 35 and change here. I see back above 4,100. Silver at just shy of $52 an ounce, and what's been a record-shattering year for both gold and silver. So give us your view of what's happened here today.
Well, here are a couple of things that have been coming up. And by the way, many great questions coming from your audience to me about, the talk about seasonality and Santa Claus rallies and all this. The Fed governors coming out, and I think it was very timely that they did this. I think we realize that any further correction in the market, it certainly is not going to be driven by individual corporate news. I mean, today, obviously, tech had a fantastic day. Bitcoin, as you talked about, had a nice pop. Certainly the metals did as well. But more important than that, things are beginning to get back to normal from the government shutdown. And what I mean by that is we're having more reliable data coming from the government about, hey, what's really going on with the aggregate economy? And we're going to have more and more of that coming out, certainly over the next couple of weeks. And you know what? I'm still willing to bet that although November will probably end up being down, but I know at least in my portfolios, we're at about even for November, and November is typically not a bad month. And December particularly is also a month where the Santa Claus rally kicks in. I think what we saw today, my friend, was good old-fashioned, I'm going to buy the dip.
On the Air Live with Ken Winans, top-ranked money manager Ken Winans, and looks like the AI-related names benefited from that, including NVIDIA, up nearly 4 today to 182 and change. Look at Micron, up more than 16 at 223 and change. What about these big names, and is the rally back on?
Well, here's the thing. It's interesting we're talking about tech because I look at tech from a broader standpoint. I look at all the old tech, new tech, intermediate tech, you name it, I like them all. As a group, they were up 1.7 or 1.8% today. That was one of the stronger moves I've seen in the tech sector really in about 3 weeks. So I was very glad to see that. I think that people are realizing that the froth had been taken out of a lot of these stocks. They were at reasonably decent buy points. And then let's not forget, many of them sell products that will be very, very popular during this holiday season. Frank, I want to bring up something that, we talked about, asked me about Las Vegas and what is really going on with the so-called real economy. We just had the F1, the Vegas Grand Prix up here this last week. I can tell you that the stores were packed. People were buying stuff. People were way overpaying for shirts and hats and all kinds of stuff. But then even just general Christmas shopping, very, very strong. I think it's a litmus test for what we're going to see as we go through the holiday. I'm not saying the economy's perfect, but I am saying that people are generally in pretty good moods and they're willing to go out and celebrate. I've seen it firsthand.
Spectacular start to the holiday shopping season here in Los Angeles with the kickoff at the Grove here in Los Angeles, as well as on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. In fact, we'll have Rick Caruso on this show on Wednesday at this time. And interesting to note that the retail stocks had a rough day today, did not participate in the rebound. Walmart, which hit record highs this year, pulling back a little over $1. Target down more than $3. Costco, big name for this audience, pulling back about 13 to 886 and change. And Macy's hovering around 20 and change here. What about these retail stocks as we get into the thick of the holiday shopping season?
Well, I'll tell you this. They first off, they'd had one heck of a run. I mean, retail, and I'm going to throw restaurants in that mix too, because I think that they typically go hand in hand. When I'm looking at the year-to-date numbers for many of these retailers, they are spectacular. In fact, some of them actually have outperformed the S&P 500. I think today's dip was really nothing more than just people taking some money off the table, rebalancing. But at the same time, I would just simply say this. You can see it with your own eyes, and also for people who do any kind of online shopping. Number one, there are not the shortages that we were told were going to be happening because of the tariffs. The store shelves are largely full. People can find what they want. People can go on Amazon, find what they want. They realize that, deliveries are going to be on time. So what I would say is this is the same adage I just used a moment ago. You got to go with the trend. Trend is your friend. And in this kind of market, especially November, December, and January, you typically want to buy the dips. I think it's a buying opportunity in retailers. I would have no hesitation with buying any of the big guns that you just talked about. One quick thing. Target is a little different than everybody else. When I look at TJX or Walmart or even Dillard's, which is another store we have here, I don't think there's too many of them in California, but Target's having its own issues. So again, this is a stock picker's market, not an industry picker's market. Do keep that in mind if you buy an ETF.
All right, it should be noted Amazon had a good day today, did participate in the rally, up nearly 6 today to 226 and change, a gain of about 2.5%. What about Amazon and its fortunes this season?
Well, the thing about Amazon that's interesting is that it's a little bit of a schizophrenic type of stock. And what do I mean by that is it a tech stock or is it a retail stock? And we know that it's a massive conglomerate. I think it's going to lean more toward being a retail play as we go through the holiday season. But obviously right now, Amazon's playing a very important role with AI, with storage, cloud storage. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with the increases in their distribution system with warehouses. Certainly, I see their trucks all over the place. So again, I think I would treat Amazon, if you're going to put it in your portfolio for the holiday, treat it more retail, less tech. And I think that would be a big reason to drive it. But Frank, one other quick thing I want to jump into is, and it's been a really kind of an interesting thing that we keep seeing going on, whether it's good days or bad days, are utility stocks. Here they had another really good day. This group has largely not pulled back all year long. And again, I keep bringing up on your show, and I don't think probably anybody else even bothers to bring it up, is that this, even though it's a sleeper group, they're boring. Most people don't seem to care.
Bruin fans, fall is finally here. That means UCLA football is back in your life. Head out to the Rose Bowl to enjoy America's best tailgating and to make more unforgettable memories with the Bruins. Nico Iamaleava and the Bruins are ready to make an impact this year, and we need you cheering them at the Rose Bowl. Visit UCLABruins.com or call 310-UCLA-WIN to lock in your tickets today. 310-UCLA-WIN.
Hey everybody, I'm Michael Strahan, and St. Jude has been close to my heart for many years. Their groundbreaking research is changing how the world treats childhood cancer, and has helped push the survival rate in the U.S. from 20% to more than 80%. Please help St. Jude give children the greatest gift, a chance at a lifetime.
This holiday, help St. Jude find more cures for more children. Donate now at musicgives.org.
Mic Drop, hosted by former Navy SEAL Mike Ritland. It's raw.
So you do 4 platoons and 7 years at Team 3 when you go to the jump team.
Scariest job I had in the Navy until people started shooting at me.
Yeah.
It was a blast, though.
It's unfiltered.
At what point did you decide I'm done with the SEAL teams?
If you only knew how the Navy works, we don't have an enemy to fight, like we'll eat each other.
It's tough talk from the top minds in their field.
They're not looking for the best guy, they're looking for the right guy.
Yeah.
Mic Drop. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
About them unless we have the tragedies as we did in California with their role in that. But the truth is that with this big push in AI and certainly with crypto, they need the power to make these things happen, and the utility companies are producing it. I know there's been a lot of talk about nuclear, but I think it goes beyond that. The simple fact of the matter is these utility companies across the country are updating their grids. They're doing a lot of things to modernize. They're using AI as well. And I think, again, for people looking at what to stick in their portfolio stocking for Christmas, go take a good look at utilities.
All right, I'm going to dust off the old Burl Ives record of silver and gold as we switch here now to analog silver and gold here, and then take a look at the cryptos too. What about this move in gold again today? An impressive rebound here after an impressive year for gold. It's still holding up near its recent highs, and silver also back above 51 here, almost at 52. And compare that to the tremendous volatility we've seen lately in the crypto space, with Bitcoin ranging from where it is now at about 88. It was down around 80,000 late last week. Give us your thoughts here on analog gold and so-called digital gold.
Well, gold and silver, especially during this time of year, it does play a role. I mean, obviously, some people will go out and buy jewelry. I saw a lot of that this weekend. Especially the souvenirs. A lot of them now are silver and gold plated. But the other thing to remember too, and Costco, it's actually interesting to listen and hear what Costco's selling, and people are still waiting in line to buy gold at Costco. So I think, again, it's now, whether somebody's an investor or not, they're seeing it as a good place to go. I think there has to be one caveat to that. I mean, because we have a lot of pawn stores here and gold and silver stores here. If you're going to go into a retail outlet and you're going to buy gold, not because you're buying jewelry, you better understand that these areas have tremendous markups. Even if you buy it from the U.S. Mint, go add it up of what the spot price is in gold and what the coin's costing you. There's a bit of a premium. So just be careful not to overpay, because you can be right on the move, but overpay for what you're buying and end up not doing well with it. But no, I think the trend is your friend. I know a lot of people have been talking about the ultimate top in gold and top in silver. I know that historically speaking, from a seasonal standpoint, as commodities since 1970, gold and silver typically do well until you get into February and March. I'm not 100% sure I know why, except that I do think you end the holiday season and there's probably just some movement around of money. But with that being said, I think we're really pretty go still comfortable with buying gold and silver at this point. Same with crypto. The only difference I put with crypto is I think everybody's learned a very valuable lesson. As tech goes, so does Bitcoin. And as long as tech is going to continue to have a powerful rallies going, and as we talked about earlier, there's a lot of good news in tech. I would be comfortable with Bitcoin. The only thing I would say about it, when I compare the charts of gold, silver, and Bitcoin looked tired, toppy, and pulled back. The fact it went into the 80s and found some support and bouncing off from there, I mean, that's a very different animal than gold that is basically, about ready to go back to its old highs again. So very, very different animal. But again, many people are realizing that crypto has a place in your portfolio, and although it's volatile, you should buy the dip.
All right. What about Ethereum? Well, we're on the subject of cryptos here. ETH had a tough week last week, as did pretty much all the cryptos here. Ethereum just below 3,000 again here now. What about that one?
That one is really a tough one. And even somebody is, in my case, I've been an experienced trader for over 30 years. I also ride horses, and I'm going to use a term. It's a bucking bronco. That thing looks like it belongs in a rodeo. I would say it's a trader's crypto. I don't think it's necessarily an investor's crypto. If you have to pick between Bitcoin and Ethereum, or Ether as we call it, I would stay with Bitcoin. I mean, I think you're just in a very interesting world right now until the government actually really clarifies the government's new role in crypto, including how the SEC is going to allow new coin offerings, especially in stable coin, to come out in 2026. We do not know that yet. I think now, unfortunately, the focus has gone back to the tariff issues, and we're not going back into the financial regulatory reform that we were hoping for. But at this point, I mean, I think, again, people are taking a good, hard look at these things, and they realize that in the ETF space, they do track well. Frank, real quick on this. I care if you're going to be buying ETFs, especially in cryptos, the question you have to ask yourself is not the price of the ETF. You have to ask, does it track the coin or the token well? If it doesn't, avoid it. It's one of the reasons I typically don't go after new ETFs. I want to track them for a while and see how they go. I know that IBIT would be my choice in Bitcoin because it just simply tracks the overall underlying asset better than some of the others.
I just happen to be looking at that one. IBIT, that's up $2.60 today to $50.57. And BITO, that's one that throws off that big monthly dividend, up 71 cents today at $13.95. All those ancillary crypto equities took a hit last week. What another commodity we haven't talked about yet, and that is oil, which around this time of the year, gas and oil gets a lot of attention because of seasonal factors, as you've told us here in the past. Ken, WINANS oil right now hovering below $59 a barrel, mercifully below $60 a barrel here, mercifully as far as consumers are concerned.
Yeah, merciful, and also I think for the airlines. I mean, the airlines, as we know, had a heck of a time during the government shutdown. It's a small blessing that they've been able to, I mean, although anybody traveling during the holidays, I don't think they're going to find too many bargains on air travel, but it could be much worse compared to where it was a couple of years ago. And we all remember what it was looking like then. So again, I mean, this time of year, I mean, there will be a lot of people traveling through Thanksgiving. But again, it's very seasonal. I mean, oil, we can talk about the geopolitical aspects of it, but in the United States where we have so much domestic production, it really is more of, things are shifting more to looking at what heating oils are going to cost, what natural gas is going to look like. Is this going to be a cold winter? A lot of things like that, and less toward light crude. So it doesn't really surprise me to see that it's soft this time of year.
All right. There are some wild cards out there with U.S. military moves in the Caribbean and possibly a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. And gosh, what else are we watching? Pretty much right down the line here, the possible ruling from the Supreme Court on tariffs. That could potentially be something that could rattle the markets, right? Take a look at the potential flies in the Chardonnay, let's call it, Ken.
Absolutely, Frank. And I would just say this. Anybody thinking that the Trump administration was going to be a dull time, they were wrong. As those of us who remember what happened in his first administration. No, there's dynamic moves all over the place. I would say this. This is something I just don't think people really follow this that closely. The dollar has been amazingly stable through this entire, and that's including all the tariff talk, geopolitical stuff. The dollar's stable. And one of the big moves that, and I've been talking about this for a long time, about people who were told to move their money out of America, hurry up, buy foreign stocks. Those foreign stocks have absolutely gotten killed this month. I'm looking at a lot of the ETFs in the country funds, and I see a lot of red there. So again, I caution everybody, try to keep politics out of your portfolio. And although you might not like the administration and you might think that it's going to come off a cliff, but the reality of it is, I think U.S. stocks are going to outperform the rest of the world going into 2026.
All right, at this point, Ken Winans, any specific places where you are putting money now and or taking it off the table?
Well, I just mentioned I would certainly anything in the foreign markets, their trades, I think you should seriously think about, with the idea that the dollar remains very stable, you should look about putting money here. Well, I'll tell you what, the thing that I would just say is any stock, as a general rule, anybody can do this. Go look. If your stocks are below their 200-day moving average, get rid of them. Rebalance into things that are working. There were certainly some names that we saw that, look at what happened with Netflix. Netflix blew up. So, it had the split. It did all those things, but it had a tough time. You just want to be careful not to be too much in any one place. What I would say is this. I would take a good look at again, I'm going to go back to financials. You've had a nice pullback in things like J.P. Morgan, Bank of New York, Goldman Sachs. They're now in buy position. I would take a look at those. I mentioned the retailers earlier. Personally, my favorites are things like TJX and Casey's General Stores, which is it's basically a convenience store type of retailer in the Southeast. I like them a lot. You know what? I'm going to throw in there as well.
Bruin fans, fall is finally here. That means UCLA football is back in your life. Head out to the Rose Bowl to enjoy America's best tailgating and to make more unforgettable memories with the Bruins. Nico Iamaleava and the Bruins are ready to make an impact this year, and we need you cheering them at the Rose Bowl. Visit UCLABruins.com or call 310-UCLA-WIN to lock in your tickets today. 310-UCLA-WIN.
Family Matters amplifies the loudest and the proudest political voices in the Black community today.
What's up, guys? I'm CJ Pearson. There's so many incredible perspectives here in the Black community that you're going to hear from each and every week.
Because faith matters, country matters, and family matters.
This is exactly what the mainstream media was missing by not actually going to Black churches, going to Black barbershops, talking to the people at the forefront of this change in the community. Let me start here.
Family Matters with CJ Pearson.
Each and every week. We'll see you here. Talk to you soon.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Well, if you're going to be looking at service stocks, we haven't talked much about it, Frank, but service is beginning to come back. And believe it or not, education, go look at Laureate Education, symbol LAUR. It is up 64% on the year, and it is barely burped in this whole correction in the market. Go take a look at that one. It's just one of those unique educational plays that it's going to be hard to find somewhere else.
Ken, thank you very much for taking the call here. We wish you a beautiful Thanksgiving, you and your family, and thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
My pleasure, Frank. Have a good Thanksgiving as well.
Thank you very much. Ken Winans, President, Chief Investment Officer, Winans Investments, WINANSinvestments.com. And be sure to catch Winning with Winans in the Vegas area and the Winans Wealth Minute right here on 790 KABC. Let's check your ride now. Looking good. Mottek On Money continues, 790 KABC. Good afternoon. We've got a pretty good rally to kick off this Thanksgiving week, something to be grateful for. The markets will be closed on Thursday for Thanksgiving. We'll have a holiday shortened session on Friday. We did start the new week with a pretty decent rally. The Dow up 203 points at 46,448. The S&P 500 up 102 at 6705. And here comes Santa Claus. NASDAQ up nearly 600 at 599 to 22,872. Price of gold did get a pop today, up $35.70 here at the moment at $4,129 and change. Silver up 87 cents at $51.83. Crude oil futures right now up 6 cents at $58.90. NVIDIA up nearly 4, back to 182 and change as the AI trade rebounded today. Micron, MU, moving higher by 16 and change to 223.93. Retail stocks coming under pressure with the exception of, not too many exceptions, mostly lower across the board. Target down more than 3 at 84 and change. Walmart down $1.26 at 104.06. And even Costco took a tumble today, down nearly 13 at 886.12. Amazon though having a good day, up more than $5 at $226.28. And now the latest news on 790 KBC. Mottek On Money continues here, 790 KBC. Congress wrestling with the affordability issue. That includes health care. Rising health care premiums and health care affordability overall getting a lot new attention, and some new ideas now being floated in Washington to replace what was once known as the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. Let's bring in the leading taxpayer advocate out there, Grover Norquist, president of Americans for Tax Reform. Grover, thank you very much for taking the call here today.
Absolutely. Good to be with you.
Wonderful to have you with us here. Take it from the top. What's the latest there in Washington related to health care and some of the ideas we've been hearing about?
Well, there's a recognition that the problem with Obamacare is Obamacare. The problem with American health care is Obamacare. And we need to create alternatives. The House and the Senate are looking at dramatically expanding opportunities to take health savings accounts where people can put money into health savings accounts to save over time. It gives them the opportunity to know what prices are, to make decisions, and to have more competition to get prices lower. 70 million Americans, roughly, have access to a health savings account now. That number should be 3 times that number. And so by making some changes in the legislation that would go for the reconciliation package, which does not require any Democrat votes, those changes will allow millions, tens of millions more Americans to have an alternative to Obamacare where they're in charge. Remember, Obamacare promised us if you like your doctor, you can keep him. That turned out not to be true. It was never true. And also that you'd save $2,500. Every family, $2,500 lower costs. Since Obamacare passed, such costs in people's health insurance have gone up, up, up. The reason for $500 million in subsidies was to hide the fact that your costs were getting bigger. They're going to take it away from you in taxes and then handed it to you in this subsidy and go, oh, wow, aren't you rich now that we took your money and gave you some of it back while your health care costs go up. So we need alternatives to Obamacare. It's not worked. It's broken. I don't think it can be fixed. But anyone who wants to stay in it, if they want to, that's okay. Just don't drag anyone else into that pit.
On the live with Grover Norquist, president of Americans for Tax Reform, of coming off that painful, as it turns out, government shutdown. Where were things left here as far as healthcare is concerned, and where do they pick up now that they have this deal?
Well, they opened up. They passed the legislation, the budget. The Democrats wanted $1.5 trillion in higher spending. A third of that was to cover the mistakes of Obamacare. The Republicans said no to that, and 60 members of the Senate, Republicans and Democrats, said no to that and said, we're going to take a continuing resolution. We are not holding the country hostage, the American people hostage, to fund Obamacare's failures. Now, what do we do now? There's some things at the White House bouncing around. As with all, and sometimes the people who have bad ideas leak them. One leak was that they were going to do a 2-year extension of the massive multi-billion-dollar subsidies. That isn't happening. There's nobody in the House and Senate who's going to vote for that. I don't know whether it's a real thought from the White House or people are imagining it is, but these things happen. There was a time when people were claiming that Trump was going to have a tax increase in the big, beautiful bill. That was too stupid for words, but I got no end of press calls on the subject. So there's some people, staff in the White House, who leak out stuff that they hope to get to happen. And I'm afraid the president has some less than helpful staff who do that. This, again, the claim that the president would sign on to a 2-year extension of subsidies to continue Obamacare. By the way, the Democrats themselves passed the subsidy and had it end January 1st. They didn't want to continue it. They didn't want to face the taxpayers and say, we're continuing this subsidy forever. Why in the world would the Republicans take on the Democrats' mistake and to cover for the previous mistake. So that isn't going to happen. I think you're much more likely to see dramatic new options for health care as the way to deal with it.
On the live with Grover Norquist, president of Americans for Tax Reform. Everyone I talk to keeps saying, boy, did this year go by fast. And certainly at this time of Thanksgiving, Grover Norquist, we count our blessings. What do you think taxpayers should be most thankful for this year, and what should we look forward to in 2026?
Well, I think 250 years of a radically successful experiment in liberty. Specifically on taxes for next year, I think the most likely good thing to happen will be something the president has called for before, and that is ending the tax on inflation when you have a capital gains tax. So you would exempt the value of your house went up, value of your stocks went up, the small business you ran went up in value, a farm you have, they go up in value. You go in and say, over the last 30 years, how much of that was inflation? More than half. Well, take that out. We're not taxing that. We're only taxing real gain. So it's a cut in half when you sell your stocks, when you sell your house, when you sell a small business. A huge cut in the capital gains tax, which has always been followed by strong growth and a shooting up stock market. That, I think, is the most cheerful, likely news this spring. Certainly the president has supported it in the past and did when he spoke to me just a couple of months ago. And our friends over at Treasury understand you can do this by change simply in how you calculate capital gains taxes. It's a rule change. It's not an executive order, and it doesn't take Congress to vote, so it can be done automatically.
All right, and something else that was mentioned just in the last month or so, President Trump teasing the possibility of $2,000 tariff dividend checks. Where do things stand with that?
Well, right now, since we're in a deficit, I don't know where you get the money to send $2,000 checks to everyone in the country. And two, the Supreme Court's about to have a ruling. We probably need to wait until we hear from that. Some of the president's tariffs are probably unconstitutional. Some are legal because Congress granted power to the executive in certain cases, steel, aluminum, a country that's an enemy. So those would probably stand, but the largest cash flow from that is not something that probably gets continued simply because the Constitution is so clear that the only tax increases you can have, and a tariff is a tax, the only tax increases you can have to pass the House of Representatives first, then the Senate, then be signed by the president. It's not something a president can do by himself.
All right. What do you think is going to happen? And certainly the worst case for the administration would be them being ruled completely unacceptable and the Treasury potentially having to refund, $1 trillion in tariff money. What do you think would happen then?
Well, I think that's the most likely case, that all of the ones that are blanket across the board that don't. The law requires you to write down do a serious study and a serious reason, and it has to fit the reasoning. Remember Reagan's speech where he said, we're going to do this tariff on Japan for this limited period of time, for this limited reason, because they did this, and we want this specific thing done. That was the amount of work that went into a temporary tariff when Reagan used the power that Congress gave him. I think some in the administration, misunderstand the role of tariffs as taxes, and that they're not a knob that you can turn up and down. They're a tax that has to go through the same process as the others. So we'll see. I mean, you can spend some time speculating, but I think the way to bet from the way the questions have been asked and the way the Constitution is written is that most of the tariffs go away. Remember, the president was using them to negotiate with. This is not a loss for him. He said, I'm going to negotiate and it wasn't to have higher tariffs. It was to negotiate to have our competitors in the world lower theirs.
Yep. Grover, thank you very much for taking the call this afternoon. We wish you and everyone there a very happy Thanksgiving. We're very grateful to you for all the great conversations and look forward to more. That is Grover Norquist, America's leading taxpayer advocate, president of Americans for Tax Reform, live with us here on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC. Mottek On Money continues, 790 KABC. What's turning heads at the LA Auto Show this year? Yep, it's already that time of the year. A lot going on at the LA Convention Center. That's all the buzz there. The LA Auto Show is underway. Let's bring in veteran business and automotive journalist, longtime contributor to this program, the one and only Richard Saxton, joining us live now from the LA Convention Center. Richard, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Frank, always good to talk to you. And, of course, last Thursday was Media Day, when typically over the years we get about 15, 20 brand-new introductions. This year, a little bit different. We might have had 3 or 4 because now the manufacturers are using different events, social media, and online rather than the 4 big auto shows in Detroit, L.A., New York, and Chicago. But if you are going to the show this year, you've been shopping for your next vehicle. You will see Cadillac, Buick, GMC, Ford, Lincoln, Toyota, Nissan, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Alfa Romeo, Honda, Chevrolet, Rivian, and Lucid. But notably absent, if you're looking for a new car, Frank, BMW, Audi, Mercedes, Lexus, Acura, Jaguar, Land Rover, Infiniti, Aston Martin, Bentley, Rolls-Royce, Ferrari. You're not going to see them, or Mazda, Mitsubishi, Mini, or Lotus. However, Maserati is at the LA show, and they have some very high-performance, nice cars. But as you'd expect, our local headquartered companies with their U.S. headquarters, Hyundai headquartered in Fountain Valley and Kia in Irvine, they had some big introductions. Hyundai had their Ioniq 6N, which is a performance electric vehicle. And they don't have a range or price on it as yet. Also, they introduced the Elantra NTCR edition, which is a kind of a track car with a big rear spoiler. But I think the star of the show had to be the Hyundai Crater Concept. It's an off-road electric vehicle, looks pretty rugged, a big hit at the show this year. Genesis had a new 650 horsepower GV60 Magna SUV. It's a performance electric vehicle. And they also introduced a special edition G70 sedan, the Prestige Graphite edition, which is going to hit showrooms next month.
On there live with Richard Saxton, veteran business and automotive journalist. Live with us here on Mottek On Money on 790 KABC. That's very interesting, Richard. So a lot of absences this year as you took the role there. That is very interesting. Is the show more compact this year? You don't have to walk around as much. Is that the good news in all this?
Well, you still have to go South Hall to West Hall, and there's a lot of other vehicles to see. I should point out that one of the big introductions from Kia was their 2027 Telluride, the 3-row SUV, which is 2.3 inches longer than the current model, so it's huge. But they now offer a 329 horsepower hybrid powertrain for that SUV, and that goes along with their standard 274 horsepower, 2.5-liter turbo. So you have a choice of what you want under the hood in your 2027 Kia Telluride, and it's got 7 trim levels, so a lot of choices there. But in terms of the size, there's a lot of experiential things. Ford and Jeep have rides where you can go up and down and around in different courses, and I think outside they'll take on a spin. But I think did I mention the Jeep Recon, which is off-road electric, like the Wrangler? That's going to be about under $60,000, and that was one of the hits of the show as well. 650 horsepower Recon, and it's trail-rated electric vehicle. So it seems like they're going for these kind of off-road EVs, you might say. Subaru had a couple of new EVs they're showing off. The Subaru Uncharted and Trail Seeker, both electric vehicles on display, and Subaru, of course, is the star of the show. When it comes to their display with all the stuff they have, it's you feel like you're in Africa. It's a great display.
Very interesting. So is it pretty much all SUVs this year? Remember, EV was once the big thing. Are there less EVs this time? What's the big theme this year?
No, it's still EVs, but you know what? Many manufacturers like Toyota are going with hybrids, so it takes away the range anxiety that many have with an all-electric vehicle. And I think another star of the show, boy, there's so many, the Toyota RAV4 that's coming out very soon, next month. Or no, it's coming out in the plug-ins are coming out in the spring. The regular RAV4s are coming out next month. There'll be a hybrid or plug-in powertrain, but the RAV4 is one of the most highest selling vehicles in the country, and it'll be interesting to see what people think about the new design. It's always a big challenge when you're trying to keep the vehicle the same but change it a little to keep the popularity.
All right, how's the Mustang looking for the new year, and the Corvette? I always ask you about the Corvette every year.
All right, the star there is the Chevrolet CX Concept, which is kind of along the Corvette lines. It's got 4 electric motors delivering 2,000 horsepower. You got the 1,250 horsepower Corvette ZR1X, or the ZR1, which has over 1,000 horsepower. And all these vehicles, are well over $180,000. But, for you, the regular Stingray Coupe, right around probably $75,000.
And the Mustang?
They do have a Mach-E there, but, we've seen it at so many shows down. It's been a very popular EV seller for Ford.
All right, Richard. Well, thank you very much for taking the call and once again doing a great job covering what's happening at the LA Auto Show this year at the LA Convention Center. It's underway right through the Thanksgiving weekend. Richard Saxton, veteran business and automotive journalist, live with us here on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC. Stay tuned now for, a big game, the Monday Night Football game. It's coming up here in just a moment after the news here. And I'll be back with more at 4 tomorrow afternoon right here on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC.
Hey, Bruin fans, want to go behind the scenes with your favorite teams and athletes? How about getting exclusive merch and opportunities to enter sweepstakes like sideline access at the Rose Bowl? Introducing Blue and Gold Society, UCLA Athletics fan membership program created to support Bruin student athletes. Members receive benefits like exclusive gear, videos featuring insider stories, and incredible experiences courtesy of UCLA Athletics. Sign up today at blueandgoldsociety.com.